The supercharger technology developed by Kawasaki has created monstrous motorcycles, particularly in the sport variant. Not wanting to waste this, they have released another variant of the H2 with a different format. Kawasaki calls it the Sport Tourer. Named the H2SX, it utilizes the H2 platform for long-distance touring. It's an answer for adventure-seeking sportbike enthusiasts. But wait a minute, when it's not fitted with touring accessories, it still looks pleasing. It's only when they're added that it seems a bit forced. Just imagine, there are two boxes on either side of the rear of the sportbike. Honestly, in our opinion, it significantly detracts from the aesthetics even though it serves a purpose. Equipped with the same engine as other H2 models, but the output is different due to adjustments made for touring functionality. But don't be mistaken, even with the reduced output, on paper, it can still achieve impressive numbers. As of now, there's no information on when Kawasaki Motor Indonesia will bring it in. In the United States, it's sold for $19,000. Still having racing DNA, some features from the H2R are inherited. Not all of them, though. But it's a plus point for a touring motorcycle. Firstly, there's the Kawasaki corner management function. When maneuvering on twisty roads, this feature greatly helps by providing appropriate suspension pressure, allowing for good control of the motorcycle. Secondly, there's Kawasaki engine brake control, which allows you to adjust the engine braking effect when downshifting is needed. And finally, traction control and intelligent ABS are also embedded in this Sport Tourer motorcycle. On the instrument panel, a combination of digital and analog models is neatly installed with plastic covers surrounding them. Only the engine RPM is shown on an analog indicator. Meanwhile, on the LCD screen, there's a speedometer, gear position, trip meter, odometer, fuel gauge, clock, and average fuel consumption. What's interesting is that since this is a touring motorcycle, it also has cruise control. Very useful for long journeys. As for the suspension, the front fork uses an upside-down model with a 43 mm diameter that can be adjusted. While at the rear, it uses a monoshock with a piggyback reservoir that can also be adjusted according to needs. The riding position is entirely like a sport bike. Leaning forward and the short handlebar position doesn't make for a comfortable ride on long journeys. Not just the rider, the passenger also feels a similar seating position. Especially since the rear seat is relatively thin and tapered. Not to mention, the passenger foot space is obstructed when the boxes are attached. The silhouette of the H2 is still clearly visible on this motorcycle. But the lines on the body are more refined, so it's not as intimidating as its sibling. The windscreen position is also made more upright and longer. Certainly useful for supporting long journeys. The total dimensions are LXWXH 2136x 774x 1203m. Quite bulky indeed. With dimensions and engine capacity like that, the Suzuki Hayabusa is rightly considered as its direct competitor. The seat height is somewhat high at 835 mm. Slightly inconvenient considering its weight of 256 kg. The chassis uses the same combination of wheels as the H2R. 5-spoke star patterned at the rear, and standard 5-spoke at the front. The only difference is the color. The tire wrapping is also exactly the same, 120/70ths R17 at the front and 190/55ths R17 at the rear. Inside the high-tensile steel trellis frame is a 4-cylinder 998cc DOHC engine. Not forgetting, the supercharger also pumps air into the combustion chamber. Hence, the power of 200 PS and torque of 137.3 Nm are easily produced by this engine. It might not be as big as other variants, but that power and torque are already more than sufficient for touring needs. Fortunately, this sector isn't differentiated. It still adapts to 320 mm discs at the front with 4 piston calipers each. Then at the rear, a 250 mm disc with a 2-piston caliper is mounted inside its star-patterned wheel. Kawasaki's intelligent ABS technology is also standard on this H2.